Hey friends, this is Mrs. Wolfe from Life with the Wolfes. Well, the journey has begun. Many people know that earlier in the winter I received a box from my Aunt Audrey. It's called Recipes Old and New. Now this box, I think it's a butter box, believe it or not, an old butter box. My aunt's 96, and these recipes are not just hers, they're her mother's and her grandmother's in their handwriting. So we're going to do some history going through the box, and I'm going to catalog it. I'm going to photocopy the things that may be faded so that I can hopefully bring up the print better, but we're going to catalog it. And then I'm going to make a historical cookbook dedicated to my Aunt Audrey. But this is going to take years. So rather than me try and work on it and then produce it for you, you're going to go along through the journey with me of the whole thing. It probably will take years before the book is done, but I'm so excited because this is history and this is food and this is my forte. This is something that is a rare treasure for me to be able to get my hands on, and I'm going to treat it with the love, the care, and the dignity it deserves. Welcome to the recipe box. Hi. Okay, so right here I have 3 file folders, old ones, that I'm going to kind of hopefully put these into 3 categories, okay? And gloves, because the book I'm about to show you. Okay, so we're going to, and I've figured out a name for this book. And it's going to be called Aunt Audrey's Recipe Book. Aunt Audrey's Recipe Box. A multi-generational historical cookbook. So here's Aunt Audrey. And here is Nanny, her mother, Hemmings. And her grandmother, Granny Lockhart. Okay, so this is Granny Lockhart's recipes. Do you see this book? Now, think about this. Aunt Audrey is 96 years old. Was 96 years old this month. So her mother was born on Christmas Day, 1900. So her grandmother had to be in the very youngest, at the very earliest, 1880 maybe. Wow, look at this. Wow. Canned blueberries. In here too, in this book, if you see all these old newspaper recipes pasted inside. And so I'm hoping we'll get some dates out of these too. Homemade chocolates. Homemade chocolates. And yes, folks, while I'm building this cookbook, it may take a couple of years. That's why I'm filming it. Oh my goodness. Powdered milk, bitter chocolate, and she's got the prices here. 3 pounds of icing sugar was $1. 1 pound of butter was 75 cents. 1 pound of bitter chocolate, 50 cents, and 2 boxes of powdered milk. I'm actually thinking she probably made her own sweetened condensed milk with that powdered milk, because I've done that. I really need a pair of plastic padded tweezers. This is 4-hour bread. Mrs. Anderson. So she must have got the recipe from Mrs. Anderson. 4-hour bread. See, remember me telling you about potato bread? This is
8 pounds of potatoes, a half a cup of sugar, 1 cup of flour, 3 yeast cakes, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to say that's like 3 teaspoons of yeast. And 3 parts tomato, boiled potatoes. Okay. And here's, look at this. This is fritter batter. Well, if I could get a date on one of, look at the back of this. Look. Not an inch of paper was wasted. When I was a kid, paper was something you got really excited about getting because we were, you know, we grew up drawing pictures on paper grocery bags. Look at this. This is chocolate fudge. A piece of this is missing. And then there's pasted, and I'm amazed that it hasn't eaten away at the paper with the, this is the paper in the book. All right. It's like a ledger. So I'm going to say this is Granny Lockhart. Anything written on this paper and glued to this paper is going to be Granny Lockhart, and this is from the late 1800s. Okay? Now there's going to be stuff added here. Listen to this, folks. This is history, okay? An examination of a U is not complete without seeing to it that the U has a good udder. It is just as essential for a ewe to have a good udder as it is for a dairy cow. It sometimes happens that a ewe is a persistent milker and does not dry off quickly at weaning time, or that the shepherd is not careful to lessen the milk flow before weaning. By keeping the ewes off lush pasture or green catch crops, which they have been allowed to graze to maintain the flow of milk, a certain amount of hand milking will be not done. In such cases, Garget is almost certain to result. It is characterized by swelling, heat, redness, and pain of the udder, and by chance in the consistency of... Oh, I'm sorry, it's sweet tomato pickles is on the other side. I got into this story here, but here is sweet tomato pickles. Putting anything loose from here into the Granny Lockhart file. I'm sorry you guys can't see all this very well. Now this is trim crusts of stale bread, dip into condensed milk, roll in coconut, and brown lightly in oven. Here's canned blueberries. Oh, there's also something on the other side. 3 fruit marmalade, carrot jam. Can you believe that? Wow, I'm going to be taking pictures of these too once I I'm not going to be able to 3 fruit marmalade. Some of these I'm not going to be able to translate, guys. I'm just not going to be able to, because they there's pieces missing. But then look at this. But I can fold this. I got to be really, really careful. Look. This is, see, these are just, it's just falling apart. Hot cross buns. Does anybody know what hard bake is? Look at this. Does anybody know what hard bake is? 3 cups of flour, 1 suet, raisins, 1 tablespoon of sugar, pinch of salt. I'm going to say that's like a suet cake. Ginger pudding. Yeah, they cook with suet here. This is really wild. I'm going to have to start. Wow. Oh my goodness. There is whole blank pages in here. Look. So we're not, oh no, there's still some stuff in here. Okay. So this is pineapple cream. Now I'm so amazed at the age and the actual, how well this is kept. Because I have paperback books that have had, you know, bookworms in them. So... I don't know. It might be hardtack, eh? Oatmeal Cakes by R.J. Scott. A Finger of Fate. I'm going to have to look up R.J. Scott and some of these comic names to maybe get a date on when this was printed. Oatmeal Squares Loaf Cake. Butter, sugar, eggs, milk, flour. That sounds like pound cake. Sweet pickles, chocolate oatmeal war cake. Now, here's some history, folks. Chocolate oatmeal war cake. Scald 1 to 2 cups of oatmeal with 1 cup of boiling water. Let cool. Now, remember, folks, back then, oatmeal was not instant. It wasn't even rolled oatmeal. It was like, phew. But anyway, let cool and add 1 to 2 cups of butter. See, they're leaving a lot to be desired. They're leaving scald 1 to 2 cups of oatmeal with 1 cup of boiling water. Let cool and add 1 to 2 cups of butter, 2 cups of brown sugar, 2 eggs beaten, 1 heaping cup of flour. I love these directions. And in the newspaper yet. 2 teaspoons of cocoa sifted with flour, 1 teaspoon of soda dissolved in a little hot water. Mrs. William Dixon, Sussex. Like, seriously, I'm going to have to do some research on some of these cartoons and stuff, and maybe I will get a... but I'll wait to get more information that I can. So there's the pineapple cream and the molasses cookies. I'm only at this point removing loose things. Cupcakes for tea. 1/2 cup of shortening. Now, this is where Crisco's came in, eh? Shortening and lard are 2 different things. And Crisco came in the late 1800s. This is discolored here from this newspaper here. Drop cookies. Oh, I'm going to be making some cookies, aren't I? Buckwheat cakes. 2 cups buckwheat. 2 cups flour. I think it's an F. It says Felor. I think that's cornmeal. That's a brand name, and that says cornmeal. It's a good thing I used to actually go over books in the municipal office when I was training to be in office work. And I had to do a lot of big ledgers and rewrite them over by hand. 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 yeast cake. Mix in 1/2 cup of, okay. 2 cups, okay. Carrot pudding. Now, in memorandum, so this should give us a day. Here we go. In loving memory of John Dayton Liscombe, a loving uncle and brother-in-law who passed away November 25th, 1949. So this is post-Second World War. 1 cup butter or butter substitute. Now we're starting to get into margarine, right? Powdered sugar, egg yolks, 5 egg yolks, 2 egg whites, 3/4 cup of milk, 3 cups bread or pastry flour, royal baking powder. God, I used royal for years. Salt, caraway seeds, rose water, teaspoon extract cinnamon. Wow. Mrs. Corbett's dark cake. Now, I'm going to assume that that's a Christmas cake. Wow, this is going to take some doing, folks. Like, this is, you know, these are pages that have had recipes, brown sugar recipes. Back again to the old-time sweet. Do we have a date on this anywhere? Barbecue sauce, ripe cucumber or vegetable marrow pickle. Now, vegetable marrow would be like zucchini and summer squash, right? Barbecue sauce, chili sauce. This is Mrs. Wolfe from Life with the Wolfes saying, what do you think? Aunt Audrey's recipe box, a historical cookbook, a historical multi-generational cookbook. Take care, God bless.